Welcome back, fantasy fans. Scrawny's a little busy right now, casting Cologne and copying my fantasy drafts. So HLTV thought to call in the expert for this episode of Fantasy Focus, brought to you by 22vet. And there's egg on a few faces in the celebrity leaderboard, after mind games were attempted to lead members astray and into picking the 143k Hasticker, which completely backfired, as the group stage victor Flom demolished the rest of us with his Hasticker ZywOo double heroic perfecto wombo combo. So well done, Flom, and it's good to see you back to your winning ways. For now. And a special shout out to Harry Russell, who showed up to the ball in his finest gown, but in a pair of Crocs. A no-no at Cologne, as he forgot both his rolls and boosters. We got some words with the man himself.
Ladies and gentlemen, here I am in Cologne with Harry Russell. Now Harry, you started this season of fantasy incredibly well, and you have continued to keep swinging even despite currently not having any rolls on your players. You have finished the group stage of IEM Cologne at top 6% with no rolls. Talk us through your thoughts.
Okay, so I used and abused Hastecker a little bit. He gave me some much needed extra money, and that let me build a team that had ZywOo, Magisk, Monacy, and JKS in it, which is kind of overpowered. And they did fantastically, let me just say. But it's all been cancelled out by not having rolls. Fantasy's kind of like a bakery. Rolls are important here. And this is the second time I've forgotten now, and every single time I finish top 5, that could have been the difference to finish top 1. I look at that, and I feel like that's a huge missed opportunity.
Okay, well then for all of you at home, don't make the same mistake as Harry Russell. He's a fantastic caster and an upcoming fantasy player, but he still has some lessons to be learned. Lucy, teach him something.
The lesson here is that rolls and boosters are key. And Harry, here's a free one for you. With the role changes this season, you could have run your tidy little 2-op draft using the revamped camper role. Something to think on. In the overall leaderboard, another user, and no, that is his name, has leapfrogged to the lead with back-to-back 1% drafts, this time with a risky HooXi Monacy gamble. So hats off to you, another user, but can you do the Cologne hat trick? Let's talk playoffs. There are 6 teams, but only one grand finalist here in Cologne. ENCE, G2, Heroic, Vitality, Cloud9 and Astralis. It could not be more stacked. The 2 teams that top the playoff groups, ENCE and G2, they'll be starting in the semis, which is important to note if you choose players from these 2 teams. You'll get the usual 6 points of padding per player for that round not played. But that means a whole round of potential big points that you're missing out on. And with Heroic and Vitality, the 2 teams most have pegged to go the distance, do you want to risk not picking them? As usual, we're bringing you 3 key picks to consider: the big bowler, the safe bet, and the eco pick. First up is the big bowler. And they don't bowl much harder than ZywOo. If his numbers don't entice you alone and you're wary of the 232k price tag, consider Vitality's path, as they'll be facing the still new Cloud9 and then onto an ENCE who's not been fully tested this season. And you've got the potential of a ZywOo farm fest. If the French AWPer doesn't strike your fancy and you want to shoot for the stars, then there's no better choice than Device. At 219k, he's a full 6k cheaper than his teammate BlameF, a bargain for one of the CSGO GOATs. Both players also start in quarters, and if you're breaking the wallet on a gold-plated player, you want to be playing as many games as possible. So Stan and Shiro are both viable choices, just don't go in on Nico. For the safe bet, you can really look at any of the Heroic roster, but in particular, I draw your attention to Tesses and Shush. The HLTV gods have gifted us a golden horse, and you never look a gift horse in the mouth. They're at 197 and 200k respectively, which has dropped significantly from groups to balance them with the rest of the playoff teams. They won't break the bank, but a guaranteed bang for your buck. And alongside them, I'd throw in Hunter. At 196k, at Cologne, he's woken up in a big way. We're a little limited with our eco pick, with so many strong players in the playoffs. Buzz, who has been a bargain for the last 2 events, has jumped to 198k after his Heroics vs Na'Vi, which means we're looking at IGLs. And for a fantasy first, I'm going to recommend HooXi. He's had a few good maps this event already, as witnessed by the top fantasy teams rocking him, and he's the cheapest player possible at 174k. But most importantly, you get 6 free points for padding, so there's no chances of him pulling you down early. So you throw bottom of the scoreboard booster on there, the noob roll, and you can offset some of those losses, and suddenly you've got a HooXi stew brewing. If that's not to your taste, the same strategy can be employed with ENTs, with 2 players in the 180 bracket, Snappy at 184 and Madden at 189, both substantially less likely to send you deep into the red. Ultimately, the golden rule of playing a 2-2-1 team is key, with 2 players from the same team on each side of the bracket, ideally from the 2 teams that you think will make the grand finals. That's all the tips for now. Scrawny will be back soon to deliver some more for you. So thanks again for tuning in to Fantasy Focus by 22Bet. Enjoy the playoffs and may the best fantasy team win.